You continue to speak with so much humility, but WoW turned out to be one of the biggest games of all time, both in terms of popularity, how many players play it, revenue, and critical acclaim. And then you rose to become a game director of WoW, helping release Wrath of the Lich King, which by many is considered to be the greatest expansion. I mean, there's a million questions I can ask here, but maybe this is also a good place to ask about the famous Blizzard polish. So Blizzard as a company has historically, and you were certainly a big part of that, delivered these games that were just got so many pieces right and well functioning and well coordinated and just feel finished in a way that a lot of other games don't get right. So what does it take to take this gigantic game, this game played by millions of people, loved by millions of people, and deliver it in a way where it's like it all just works?
To have a level of polish is like a studio-wide culture that has to be instilled in everybody. Like, no one can be satisfied with a bug. Every game is going to have bugs, and Blizzard games have bugs. It's a question of how quickly do you fix them and with what urgency. And as players ourselves, if we're playing as much as anybody else, we're going to be motivated to fix the bugs. There are some really tactical aspects to it too. The quality assurance department at Blizzard is the best in the industry. Like, the people who come and do QA at Blizzard, they're passionate gamers. Many of them want to be developers themselves, and they're not just doing it for a job. They do it because they fucking love the game. And the relationship we tried to develop between us on the development teams and QA was extremely tight. And whenever possible, we also tried to sit as many QA members up with the development team as possible, depending on the logistics of, in the early days, we didn't always have the space for all of QA to sit with us. We were very fortunate on the Overwatch team to have a large amount of QA sitting with us. And then developing that relationship, in the early days, there were these fears of like, well, QA can't talk to the developers, and trying to shatter that because some of our QA members knew the game so inside out. You would just say to them like, hey, dude, just message me anytime. Here's my home number. Like, call me if there's a bug. If you think we're going to get raked over the coals on this, you got to speak up. I don't care what the chain of command is. Like, we got to fix this thing. So QA was amazing.
I mean, so can you speak to QA, quality assurance, at the peak of the craft? What does it entail? Like, you're basically experiencing the game and trying to figure out on a particular slices of that experience that can be improved.
Yeah, people simplify the role by just, oh, these guys just get to play games all day and then like let us know if there's a bug. They are so systematic in the way they test stuff. They come up with these plans that are actually amazing of like who's going to test what. There's a lot of regression testing that goes on. Within QA, there will also be compatibility testing. The Blizzard compatibility department was amazing. Like, they had every card, every machine, every configuration, and they would roll through to make sure there wasn't some quirk that was going to come up on some video card or some motherboard that you weren't expecting. But it was all very systematic. It wasn't just Wild West, let's play the game. And then as a developer interacting with QA, you would find that there were certain specialists, whether like for example, on Overwatch, there were a couple of players that like we all were shooter players when we were making Overwatch, but I'm not like esports level shooter player. I'm like, you know, Gen Xer, remember Doom, how good I
Yeah,
was
right.
type of shooter
Yeah,
player.
yeah.
But we had, you know, a couple of these QA specialists who, like, they could just snipe from 100 meters out and hit the shot every time and tell us if there was a frame of input delay, and then you sit that person with an engineer and say, "Hey, I think there's some input lag
That's
here."
amazing.
And sure enough, they'd be right. But you have to have that relationship where the devs trust QA, or just even on like World of Warcraft, they had a great relationship with QA, and that they built out a full raid team to do the raids. And then you're not only like looking for bugs, like, hey, the dragon was supposed to fly and instead it just like sunk through the world and the game crashed, which would happen. But like if you really value QA, you're asking them, what do you dude, what do you think? You know, like 10 million people are going to see this. Your opinion, multiply it. It matters. What do you think? Are you having fun? Oh, yeah, this is cool. This isn't cool. So QA was important. The other thing that was important is the Blizzard engineering, which you have to architect your game to be hot fixable. And what a
Yeah.
hot fix is, games, there's a couple ways to fix them. The way most of us know, because all the software we have gets a patch. You have to update it. You have to download a new version of it. Windows, you get that annoying message like there's a new version of Windows, and it takes, a few minutes and you update it. Obviously we patch our games, and that's where we fix a lot of bugs. But if you really want to run a game like Overwatch or World of Warcraft successfully, you need master level engineers who have architected the client and server in such a way that you can hot fix the game on a dime. And what a hot fix is a server patch that no one's client has to go down for.
It's because you're dealing with a huge number of players and you discover an issue and you want to respond to that issue really quickly.
Yeah, there's emergency issues like something's crashing. Like the worst case scenario is anytime the server's crashing. Or in Overwatch, like a really catastrophic bug would be something where you have to disable a hero. Like someone found an exploit and you have to disable a hero from the lineup. You want to turn around that hotfix, if you can, in half an hour, get that hero back live. You might have somebody who only plays that hero, and the only reason they're going to play Overwatch is because that hero is active. You don't want to wait for patches, and you want to hotfix as fast as you can.
And then also to improve the game quickly, to just even subtle stuff.
Players feel it. Like that's where there's this idea of like the love and the craftsmanship of the developer that you can feel. Like any product, your iPhone or Android, or like any computer consumer product, you can feel when there are people who loved it behind it and aren't just putting it out on a shelf. And games have that as well, where you can feel the like heart and soul of the developer in the thing. And some of that's like the joy and delight of like that there's a cow level, right? That's you can feel the humanity of the development team through that. But another part of that is like, do they clean up their fucking yard? Does this game work? Is it, and it's not just the bugs and the crashes. It's like when balance gets wacky and stupid and, suddenly everybody's a barbarian and whirlwinding and no one else will play anything else. You're like, we should probably fix that,
Ah, those were the days. I sadly was the barbarian whirlwind guy.
One-handed.
Yeah, it brought so much joy.